Hi. Welcome to Six Sad World. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome to Alpha Book Club. I'm Rachel Heine. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerdist.com, and this is our online book club for all of our Alpha community members. Joining me as always is Hector Navarro from Geek and Sundry, who has got the book all figured out apparently.
I know what happens at the end of this, guys. I got it all figured out.
And Maude Garrett from Geek Bomb, who survived.
Hey, I didn't. I lived. I survived. My iPad that I was reading on didn't. I don't know where you are in this Six Sad World, but I miss you. I lost you. I love you.
Maybe it'll come back to you.
Yeah, it's like a boomerang, surely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck it, but
Wait, where did you last see it? What happened? Where did you last see your iPad?
on the plane.
Oh,
Yes,
no, that's
reading
gone.
it. Yeah, no, I was in the zone and I
Yep.
finished it and I wanted to look around and talk to everyone about it, but no, I just decided to throw my iPad away instead.
Oh.
Well, we'll talk about it here, but before we do, we finished the book, but at the end of today's show, we're going to take a live poll with you guys to vote for the next book that we're going to vote, and we're really excited about some of our options. We have Ready Player One,
Cool.
Woo!
A Wrinkle in Time,
Yes, cool.
and Good Omens. So
Cool.
all very different from Haunting of Hill House, I
Mhm.
think, so that'll be fun.
Mhm.
But let's continue where we left off. Do one of you guys want to recap, anyone who's new in the chat, what we're reading, what's happened so far, set the table for us?
Do that because I forget where we last spoke about and where we're at now.
Please.
So, basically, we've been reading The Haunting of Hill House, which is a book by Shirley Jackson, and it was written in 1959.
Really
And
good.
basically, it's about a doctor who figures out paranormal activities and has decided to get a team together at this particularly haunted house to figure out what the F is going on. And basically, a whole lot of things are happening. Bangs in the night, things that you think you see that you probably shouldn't see. What else? Noises.
Noises,
Dog creatures.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
we never figured
words written on the wall in
Mhm.
chalk and possibly blood.
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's going down, and we kind of left things off, I think, where Eleanor, who is kind of our protagonist, is real, or is she? Is
She is.
feeling like is feeling like she's getting sucked into the home because she's hearing things that she shouldn't necessarily hear in the room up there, and she's starting to become at one with this house.
Yes.
Dun dun dun.
And then last we left off, Mrs. Montague was going to visit.
Yeah, I know.
And that-
I know.
Yeah, and that hadn't happened yet, which is really exciting. So Dr. Montague just like dropped that bomb, like, oh, by the way, my wife is going to come and hang out with us for a while. So
Were you expecting Mrs. Montague to be like
a
that?
terrible human being? No, I was not.
Oh, I
No.
wanted to kick her.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, no, I thought she was a meek woman who actually was quite blind to the whole supernatural elements, and that she was just there for emotional support in a way. Turns out she's the pants wearer. She's the one who orders people about. Everyone's beneath her. She basically insults everyone in the house in front of them, and she also has like this principal of a school who's kind of her manservant in a way. She just bosses everyone around.
Manservant who he's like her boyfriend, right? Like what?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
because didn't they like sleep in the same room,
Yeah.
separate from Dr. Montague,
Poor Dr. Montague.
right? Or
Well, he's just a little bit of a welcome mat, isn't he? She just wipes it.
I thought which one? Both of them, I guess.
Yeah. No, she's wearing all pants.
Yeah. She came in. What I really liked about her was that you have Dr. Montague who is recording everything
Yes.
and really trying to be scientific about it. And then she comes in and is like, I almost wore my Ouija board jacket. She was like, I've got the not even like she made planchette, the little piece on the board was like a person who spoke to her, which I found, I've never heard of Ouija boards where the planchette has its own personality, where that's just the way that they communicate with the dead. But that was super interesting to me.
yeah, and I read the word planchette like 80 times in rapid succession in that sequence, and I'm like, what are you even talking about? Stiffu says, I really wondered how she and Dr. Montague ended up getting married. That is a great point. That is a great point. Because it was a completely different energy that this character brings into the story at this point, and kind of affected how I had fan cast Dr. Montague as Liam Neeson, because he played the role in that movie, in that terrible movie that we're not going to talk about. But
I still don't hate that.
It's good casting.
It's
Like
good casting.
I think I
because
could watch it now, knowing what it's based on.
exactly.
Yeah.
But Liam Neeson has this energy that is very fatherly and very warm and very stern. But I think I could also buy him as somebody who would kind of bend over backwards for his wife, for Mrs. Montague. So at first it kind of threw me with how I was reading Dr. Montague, and then like as Mrs. Montague showed up and added this energy, I was like, okay, I think Liam could still do that, but it definitely switched it up a little bit. He had such just like a confident energy in the whole book up to this point.
He was the leader. People were
Yeah.
looking to him for answers. And then
Mhm.
every single one of his answers and all of his findings was squashed immediately
Yes.
with no thought about, let's discuss it. Let's actually listen to your evidence. Let's talk
Mhm.
about it. It was no, absolutely not. That's not what's happening. I know more than you do.
Yeah.
It's like, well, here's the doctor.
And Mrs. Montague was using the arguments of like, well, I don't know why you're being dismissive of my evidence so quickly, and I don't know why. And she was
Yeah,
putting
she was
herself as the victim,
projecting.
projecting and making herself the victim.
Oh, my
So
mistake. Is
often.
that my mistake? Have I got this
Exactly.
wrong again? You always point
Unless
out
I'm
how my
mistaken,
flaws
I'm
are.
pretty sure I said I was going to be here today. Was I mistaken? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Just the most passive aggressive.
Yeah, we're
That
just
wasn't-
like,
that
"Oh,
wasn't
you guys
passive
weren't-
aggressive."
Yeah, you guys weren't gonna wait for dinner for me. You could have waited for dinner. Like
Yeah.
he's there, he is bending over backwards the whole time, and I do feel like when we first meet these characters, they're playing this game of pretend where they're trying out new personalities that they want to be, and he takes on this leadership role and the fatherly role.
Mhm.
Eleanor, for a little bit, we'll talk about Eleanor
Oh,
because she's
Oh, bloody Eleanor.
okay.
We've all got that one friend, right? One friend.
But she does this outlandish story, but well, she has this rich inner fantasy life, but she also creates a story where she's like this lady of the night almost, and which is so far outside of her
That's a little on the
personality,
nose, isn't
too.
it?
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Lady of the Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot happened in the last 3 chapters of the book.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great, yes. Sophia Sister said, I really wonder how Dr. Montague and Mrs. Montague ended up getting married
Mhm,
because they seem to just
Ooh.
not work
Mhm.
really well. He's
Mhm.
incredibly submissive,
mhm.
and she's very, very dominant. But he also doesn't strike us as the kind of person that has been told what to do for decades of his life and stood up
Yes.
to it.
Yeah, that was really interesting to go off of what you just said and what Rich was saying. It felt like he went back to his prime persona as soon as she showed up. Like, oh, this is how he is every other day of the year. But when he showed up to this little getaway, this thing, he also took on this extra persona of
Mhm.
being this very domineering and in control and playing chess and drinking and reading at night and being like, I know exactly
having
what's
his
going
own
on.
life.
Having his own life and also being very comforting to Eleanor, to a character like Eleanor, with what she was going through. He was always like checking in with her and making sure she was okay as soon as
he
Mrs.
had the
Montague shows up.
intuition. So
Yes.
Dr. Montague really did understand what was going on, and then it was dusted under the rug. And I also think it's very, very interesting that straight away Mrs. Montague dismissed the women, like completely.
Mhm.
Ooh, that made me mad.
And it's funny because the kind of cliched writing that you would expect from this is that the way that you are building up this hatred for Mrs. Montague, you're expecting her to die,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's how you kind of win favor with the audience and with
and
the
that's not what happened.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I wanted her to die, and she got to leave.
Especially because she is completely ignoring their advice. That's the horror movie trope. Like, you think you know better than the people who are in this. You're just
Mhm.
gonna go into the nursery and
Mhm.
sleep in the nursery.
Yeah.
That's like kiss of death, but that's not. They totally flip it on its head here.
Mhm.
And it was interesting that they didn't hear a lot of what was going on as well. They had
No,
very, very
none.
sound sleep.
It seems to me like what was happening in the house, the supernatural spirits that are haunting this house. Because by this point, I'm like, it's for sure haunted. It's no longer a psychological thing.
Okay.
I'm at a point where I'm like, yes,
Okay.
yes, the house is haunted for sure. The book won me over. That's what happened.
Good.
But it felt as if when these 2 new characters showed up, Mrs. Montague and Arthur, who somebody in the chat right there, I can't read the name, says, I wonder the relationship between Arthur and Mrs. Montague.
Darkman220 said that.
Darkman, I think we were all thinking the same thing that you
Mhm.
were saying, Rachel, maybe boyfriend, like maybe, that was a really
Well, he
interesting thing.
completely cancelled his plans. He's the principal of the school, and
Yeah.
he took a day off to help her out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when they showed up, it seemed like the ghosts or the spirits were like, no, we're not going to let them feel or experience anything. We're going to continue messing with our crew.
But in a way, like this planchette, when they were doing the Ouija, they
Yeah.
actually hit the nail on the head with a lot of things. So there was a lot of fluff,
Like
and
the words like mother.
Eleanor, Holmes, all
Mhm.
those kind of like
That's
Nelly,
true.
Nell, Nelly, Nell. it was very interesting going, oh, that was great. Oh, we got a lot of great stuff from that. Oh, they're all talking. So chatty. Let's talk to you what happened. And then, they'd hear something and be like, oh, that's exactly what you mean because this has been happening. No, this is about the nuns in the walls. And and it's like, what are you talking about? Because it's so obvious to the reader, to everyone else, that this is applicable for what they've experienced. And she's just like, nope, I'm adamant because I know what's best about this bit of information. And again, that ignorance, you're thinking you're a target. They would be seeing you be an idiot and they would go for you because you're an easy target.
But it feels like the target here is this sensitivity and this desire. And maybe like if we can get into what happens to Eleanor, she feels susceptible because there's a lot of discussion about the mothering of the house in these 3 chapters as well.
Yeah.
And they all are there to kind of start a new life and they're creating this little family unit, but she especially is dying for that. And we get to hear even more about her backstory and how sad she is. And we kind of we get that a little bit in the beginning, but she's so hopeful that I think she's covering it up, and because we're seeing it from her perspective, we don't get into the meat of that until the end where it's like, oh God, she's the one with the target. And that's what Dr. Montague was trying to warn her the entire time. He's saying, if you really felt that way, and she says that she is swept up and she could live here forever. He says, if you really felt that way, you should not be here. And she stays, and it takes her over.
I've got a few questions that didn't really make sense to me, and just while they're on the top of my head, I just want to split them all out and we can digest them if that's okay.
Yeah.
The blood on Theodora's clothes disappeared. Help explain that, please.
Oh.
The other one was oh no, it's slipping. Don't leave me.
Just like her iPad.
Yeah, everything
I'm
is
so sorry.
me.
No.
All right, we'll start off with that one then.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I misread that section, but I interpreted as they were looking for excuses to get Eleanor out of the house. And the Theodora was like, no, sweetie, it's fine. I've got clothes. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But I can't because then she won't have my clothes and I'll have to stay. No, it's fine. You need to leave. Everybody's telling you to leave. Take care of yourself.
And that's why she's still wearing the red sweater. Isn't she still wearing the red sweater at the end?
Yes.
That's okay.
Theodora's wearing the red sweater, right?
I was wondering too if it was messing.
I got the impression that it all just disappeared.
Yeah, because some of when Eleanor really loses herself and the house is shaking out of its skin basically, and then Mrs. Montague the next day was like, oh, nothing, I just heard light tapping. So I thought it might be playing with them that way, but that makes more sense.
Possibly. Maybe I am wrong. It could be that the blood just magically, because they want maybe the house. Okay, we're just going to have to get into it. We're going to get into it. This is what happens at the end, okay? Eleanor died, you guys.
Yeah.
She died.
Yeah.
Should have been reading it along with us, bro. Eleanor died, and the house got her. And I believe that the house wanted her from the beginning. I believe that everything about Eleanor lined up perfectly with what the house needs, and that is for people to be trapped there for eternity as spirits, as ghosts, as unfulfilled, unhappy people, whatever. And at the end, there is a section about whatever walks in the house is alone. There's a line there that says, whatever walked there walked alone. That's literally the last sentence. Is silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there walked alone. To me, that's Eleanor as a ghost, because she decides to crash her car when they're telling her to leave, and she's like, I can't go back, I can't,
But do you also remember the first owners of the house? What was
there was a car crash? It was
the mother of the 2 daughters never made it to the house because she crashed into the tree at the start.
Same tree, probably.
I'm guessing.
The sisters the sisters are separated and they're lonely, and all of these different characters die feeling lonely and wanting family.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it wants. It wants people for this sad, sick family ghost.
Sad world.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The sick, sad house.
Yeah. Look at that in the chat. That ending though. That ending though. My favorite part, the thing that made me so sad about the whole reading experience, you guys, I want to read the section that I picked to just share, was when Eleanor finally confessed what her life really was, and she got really real about it, and it was so sad. It was so sad. She says, after they're telling her, you're going to go home, because she wants to go with Theodora. She wants to go with Theo wherever she's going. And Theo's like, no, I'm going to go back to my roommate. She basically said, I'm going to go back to my roommate girlfriend, and I'm going to be happy, and you're going to be happy. We'll write each other.
Maybe
we'll
see each other.
And Eleanor said, I haven't any apartment, she said to Theodora. I made it up. I sleep on a cot at my sister's in the baby's room. I haven't any home, no place at all. And I can't go back to my sister's because I stole her car. She laughed, hearing her own words, so inadequate and so unutterably sad. I haven't any home, she said again, and regarded them hopefully. No home. Everything in all the world that belongs to me is in a carton in the back of my car. That's all I have. Some books and things I had when I was a little girl and a watch my mother gave me. So you see, there's no place you can send me. She took all of her stuff with her. She was planning to never come back. And she used it, and that's so sad. And she used this as an excuse to leave the sort of life that she had after her mother died, but still was, stuck at her sister's. And she was just so unhappy that as soon as I read that at the end, it completely made sense to me as a character that
there was no other option.
There was no other option, which is like insanity. And you feel for her, and you want to tell her, of course, just keep driving, just go to another town. Like you've got nothing but options. You're so set, but she didn't see it that way. She wanted a place to belong, says the chat. Oh, that's so sad.
I know. And it's interesting too, because the whole time we get it from her perspective. So we can't really trust a lot of what's happening. I feel like it's the same thing we talked about, I think last time when she and Theodora start arguing, and we were saying, no, I think she was just trying to calm her down because she was so scared. And when all the stuff happening that was confusing me was Luke and Theodora, when they keep going off and it feels like they're mocking her. And I think that that's just her projecting that.
Totally.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what was really confusing for me as the reader, getting those perspectives, but only knowing her perspective and being like, what is going on? Because this doesn't really make sense, their behavior. And of course it doesn't make sense because it's not actually happening. But there were a few times where it was like drop of the hat. It was just like, I have to live with you, Theodora. And that I didn't understand.
I understood it, but it made me sad. But it was I understood it, and it's just because I feel like.
But it wasn't until she hated Theodora that she had to live with her.
That's
desperation.
Listen, maybe you've never been in this situation because you're a Theodora and I'm an Eleanor. But when I was in high school, I hated the popular kids, but I was like, my God, man, if I make them laugh, I'm in. I think there's this thing that Eleanor has where she absolutely is jealous of Theodora. She sees someone who has basically social skills. And it's not Eleanor's fault that she doesn't have social skills. She literally cannot read people. She can't read a room, which is, mine was too, so I had to switch it. So she can't read people. So when she's walking in the meadow and the two characters behind her are talking, and we're only seeing her perspective, and we're frustrated because it's like, if you and I were there, if we were there, we would be reading the people and we'd be like, Eleanor, they like you. You're fine. It's okay. Like, because we would read exactly what they're talking about, and Eleanor's freaking out and she's dealing with anxiety and all of that. I understand.
Yes.
I have dealt with that. I have loved and cared for people my whole life that are in that same position. And so for her to have no social skills, and she sees Theodora as somebody who is the opposite of her, who she at once hates, but also is like, man, if she liked me, I would be so happy. Like if she could be my friend, if she could be maybe something more, like if that could work, then all of her problems would be solved. When it's like, it's not Theodora. It has nothing to do with Theodora. Girl, it's all you.
Yeah, it's everything. I think it's interesting because people, when they feel that alone and insecure, sometimes they project that rage.
Yes.
Sometimes they project that it's all their fault, and no matter what is actually happening, they'll take that and interpret it because that's all they know. And I think growing up with her sister and having to take care of their mother and never getting that, she never got nurtured the way that she was supposed to. So how do you learn that? How do you learn that it's okay and that not everyone feels that way about you, and that it's not all your responsibility and it's not all your fault?
Yeah.
So
that's what
Luke
she
and
felt.
Theodora weren't bumping uglies, because I thought that she did that to kind of make Eleanor jealous.
Oh, I mean,
I think that's what I interpreted
maybe
that as what Eleanor
thought was
projected.
happening.
Eleanor's
just got me confused.
I could maybe see it happen because honestly, Theodora seems like the type of person, and maybe Luke, where they're like, hey, we're at this house, like let's bump uglies, no big deal.
Sex.
Yeah, let's bump uglies. It's no big deal. We're adults. It's no big deal. And Eleanor, and going to what somebody said in the chat a second ago, Stiffuse, I think, was saying it to Imp Queen. There's a moment at the end where she is killing herself and she thinks, why isn't anybody stopping me?
And
that's and that is, I think, is a very sort of like childlike and immature response to emotions and frustration and anger, and that's totally valid. But I think she was stunted in her sort of emotional development. And I think another part of that is that maybe Theodora and Luke did bump uglies.
Well, you remember in the first third of the book that we were researching was one of the first things Theodora says was, "Oh, Luke likes you. That must be lovely. Of course he likes you."
I interpreted that as her trying to gauge Eleanor a little bit.
Could have been. There's so many layers to this book,
Here,
you guys.
let's get a viewer from the chat because I would like to know what you guys think. Do you think that this is all in Eleanor's head?
Yeah,
Or
there's so much to
Hey.
unpack.
oh, you're right. Yeah, I knew
So
that
much to
do it.
unpack.
I knew
Hey,
that.
my mic wasn't on for the first 2 minutes, so
Okay,
that's fun too.
All right,
Who we got?
here we go.
I have pineapples in me.
Who's coming
Cool.
in? And they're gonna be here.
Hey, welcome. It's DJ Mordor. Who we got?
Hey,
Hi.
how's it going? What's your name? Where are you
Hi.
calling from? Can you hear
You
us?
are live.
Hello.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you're up.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, I can't hear anything.
Hello.
Hi. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Darkman220.
This is Darkman. Have I been saying just 20? 22 the whole time?
Darkman 220.
It's
Darkman
220.
220.
Damn
Where are
it,
you calling
I'm
from,
sorry.
Darkman?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. All right. Birthplace of rock and roll. I love it. Okay. Awesome. Darkman.
Did you
what-
read the book?
What? Yeah. What did you think? Tell us about it.
I really like this book.
It's confusing, huh?
I find it really interesting by Eleanor. I think mostly because for what you just said, Hector, basically that the house possessed her.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
It's
Um,
yeah, it's the only thing in her life that's actually shown her like almost respect in a way, which is
Mhm.
morbid.
Do you think that when Theodora and Luke and Eleanor all go off together and they're sort of, it seems like they're making fun of her, do you think that that was actually what was happening, or did you read it as that was what was in Eleanor's head?
I read that was in Eleanor's head.
There you go. There you go.
I think it's
Okay.
50-50. I think sometimes it was, but I think sometimes they're just realizing that she's losing the plot slowly and they're kind of, they're distancing themselves from her and being like, oh, she's a little bit weird.
They also don't know her that well, right? So maybe you're hanging out with someone, and I know I was like this, especially when I was a teenager. I have
Mhm.
friends who now are like, oh, I'm so glad that you are not as the way that you were, because you get frustrated with someone that's always like, I'm terrible, like you don't want, sometimes you just don't want to deal with someone who's clearly interpreting things that way. It doesn't feel
And-
good to
and
be that person's friend. sometimes.
Especially when somebody like Theodora continues to tell Eleanor, like, you're fine. Everybody likes you. You're fine.
Yeah.
And it wasn't setting in because of the type of person Eleanor is versus the type of person
Mhm.
Theodora is. And I think in the last section of the book, it seems like Theodora wasn't hanging out with her as much.
Yeah.
And it definitely seemed like that. Darkman, how did you feel when the story wrapped up? What were your thoughts? And did you think that was going to happen? What actually happened, where Eleanor lost her life?
I
She took
honestly
her life.
was not that surprised.
She didn't lose it?
Because actually, it did feel like that. Like the house was, I think, was really going to consume her.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
mostly this was a better job than the remake that shall not be named.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I know. Well,
Ooh,
thank
we're having
you
a
so
restart.
much. We're gonna fan cast. Oh, do you have a fan cast
Yeah.
for
Darkman,
any of the characters? Any actors you would like to see play them?
There's two for me. Eleanor, because like throughout my life I had to deal with that,
hmm
and also for a bit, Luke, because in that part where basically, Arthur would basically why weren't you there with me, like helping carry the stuff? Even said, I'm not going out in the dark.
Yeah, he knew he wasn't gonna do it. Yeah, I think we can all identify with different characters. We obviously have been Eleanor.
I mean, yeah. And Theodora.
Yeah.
I have my fair share of Theodora moments as well.
Absolutely. So I think that's
Yeah.
really great, because any good work of fiction, you get to put yourself
Mhm.
in one of the characters and see yourself in them. So
Totally. Well, Darkman,
Cool.
thanks so much for reading it, man. Hopefully you enjoy our
Yeah.
next book. And
Yes,
and
make
stay
sure you cast
tuned.
your
make
vote.
sure
you gotta vote.
at the end
You
of
gotta
the
vote.
episode.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks for chatting.
Thank you.
Bye. That's awesome. I'm glad he enjoyed the book. I think he was like me, where he saw the crappy remake and then read this book for the first time, and the book just blew it out of the water. It's so great. It's so great.
I want to talk a bit about, there was a passage, there were a couple of passages, I'm gonna have to find them, but just about her mom and the bit where she says, I could have been sleeping. I could have, when she talks about how her mom.
the
that was
confession.
Yeah.
gnarly. That was really gnarly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was great. Did you listen to the score to Crimson Peak?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I should have texted you.
I know you should have told me.
It was
No.
great. It was
I'm
really
trying to
great.
get it back, but I don't need to read the passage. But
Okay.
where she basically says,
Mhm.
staying. But yeah, where she basically says, one night I cared for her every day and every night, and I brought
Mhm.
her medication. And then one night I didn't wake up and I didn't bring it to her. And then
Yep.
she says, I think about that a lot. Did I wake up? It would have been so easy. And that to me felt like, I mean, it could go either way, because of course you're going to feel this incredible guilt, because I'm sure she wished over her life that her mom would just
Die.
hurry up and die.
Do you
Yeah.
think that that's what
That's a
Hill
normal
House
human thing.
did to trigger her? The knocking on the wall?
Then all
the
of that
banging?
felt so specific to her
Yeah.
once we knew that. The
Uh-huh.
knocking, the come home,
Mm-hmm.
the Nelly, all the like mother, everything to do with take care of me, please
Children's
help me. The crying
laughter.
children, the
Mm.
children's laughter, the crying children, the way she feels about
protecting.
protecting not just her guilt, I think, over her mom, but her sadness for herself,
Yeah.
and that she didn't get a life. I think she's seeing all these people. She's just been around her family this whole time. Like, we don't see her having any friends.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she knows. So when
Spooky.
she sees Theodora living her life,
Wow.
Yeah.
oh geez,
Yeah.
that's terrifying.
I get the
It's
angles
try-
though. I get the
Yeah,
angles
those
with
are-
Right?
this.
Because it kind
Yeah.
of doesn't make sense. Like, well, that house was
Ooh.
just built weird. All right.
That's really good.
A big part that I do want to talk about in detail, because I read it so fast and I'm not entirely sure I got it.
Let's break it down.
So this was when they were going to sleep the next night, and she can't sleep. She can't sleep at all, so she's just going to walk around the house.
Oh yeah.
And then she basically becomes the enigma. She becomes the one who's chasing and scampering about the house. And she's
Yeah,
almost-
knocking on doors.
Yeah, so she is doing what has previously haunted her.
Mhm.
And that I felt very, very strange, because I would have loved to have known or read the perspective of the other house members who
Wow,
were
that was
looking
happening.
out for her, thinking that this isn't Eleanor at all, thinking that this is the house
Mhm.
that's making all of these noises.
Mhm.
And how she just switched, and how she just became this like little forest nymph, and like,
Mhm.
playing all these tricks on everyone, and then being drawn to the one place that she, basically made forbidden to herself, which was the library.
Mhm.
And she went in there, and then all of a sudden she was compelled to climb the ladder and then to basically just jump. And that was obviously the
Yeah.
house for me,
Mhm.
because that was the point
Pulling
of,
her. Yeah.
that's how, was it the elder sister's lover, companion, who stayed there and lived on her own? That's how she killed herself.
Mhm.
So that was like obviously the way to happen. But in her mind, she wasn't in danger. There was no problems. Everything was fine. And I kind of really want to get your understanding of this particular scene in this moment.
I just think like whatever my understanding is kind of doesn't matter. The brilliance of Shirley Jackson's writing is that it could go either way. Is that it could absolutely be the house influencing poor Eleanor, but we're just in her head. And in her head, she's like, everything's fine. I'm making these decisions on my own, and I want to climb up this thing, and everything's fine. But it's the house influencing her. And we're reading this poor woman like being manipulated.
Yep.
Mhm.
It could have also been the house didn't do anything. And
Yeah.
Eleanor is just, she has mental health issues, and she's losing it. And
So-
she's losing it.
Yeah. So first, I think that I ascribe to the belief that the house is influencing her, and
Okay.
she thinks it's normal just because when she's driving the car at the end,
She
that's how
has that.
she feels. She's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna, you can't stop me. I'm gonna be here. This is fine. Everything's fine. Oh my God, why won't? Like, she
It's
has
her
that
rebellious
what am I doing?
moments where she's the most vulnerable.
Yes. But I
Mhm.
think, to your point, the brilliance of this is that there are many ways to interpret this, but I think
Mhm.
there are 3 or 4 that the house is haunted by the Cranes and there are like ghosts there. I think that's the least likely.
Wasn't she dancing with Mr. Crane at one stage?
That was the statue,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah,
so-
and that goes
yeah.
down to like, was that just beautiful language, or
Yes,
was it
or
because
was
she was
he-
saying, she's looking at the statue and she's dancing on her own, and then it says something like, all of a sudden, like Mr. Crane came down and was dancing with her.
Mhm.
But it's like, is she
Again.
imagining it, or
Yeah.
Whose
did the
hand was she
statue-
holding?
Did the statue
Yeah.
literally come
Is it
down and start
ghosts?
dancing? Like,
Yeah. Is it ghosts? Is it the house itself that's this evil manifestation that's providing hands
The
and
s-
things?
the
and
story of the Cranes and
Mhm.
everything. Yeah.
is that part? Did the Cranes get sucked into the house? Was it the
Mhm.
house first? Then is Eleanor, because she did have that event when she was younger. These two women are maybe psychic, maybe telekinetic.
She's maybe telekinetic
she
and shaking the house
manifesting-
herself.
Yes.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because when she was knocking on all their doors trying to startle them and she thought it was hilarious, I'm picturing her giggling, laughing,
Yep.
sounding like a young girl, which
Mhm.
is exactly what we've had
Is
previously.
this a manifestation of that? And then the other one, which I thought you might be on this one, is that she is just suffering from mental illness and there is no haunting. And I think we're all on the same page now that it's a
Hudson
combo
is.
of the house and maybe
Yeah.
the poltergeist
If
situation.
if there's no haunting at all, then it's a combination of mental health issues with she has telekinetic Jean Grey powers,
Yeah.
because she was literally affecting the house at
Yeah.
a
The
physical
whole
level.
thing was
a
shaky.
telekinetic
she went Dark
descent
Phoenix,
into
yes.
madness.
So I think that is
Poor
unlikely. So
Cyclops
that's
died.
that's
Oh my
why I was
God.
like, yeah, that's
We
right.
should do like a I love like fan cut trailers with other things of like Jean Grey
Yeah,
animation, but haunting.
that's great.
That picture that
I'm
we
sure
just
that there's
saw.
footage of an old X-Men cartoon where they take a vacation to an old country house. There has
Yes.
to
Oh,
be.
perfect.
There has to be. There has to be. Somebody could do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we do our fan casting?
Yes.
Okay. All right,
Let's
we're gonna
do it.
try it. We're gonna try it. This is a tough one. Do you have some? You got some fan casting, Rachel?
We all do per character. So we'll start off with Dr. Montague, who is everyone fan casting as Dr. Montague.
Oh, okay.
You were saying that you see Liam.
I was thinking Liam, but then I was thinking also maybe an Anthony Hopkins.
That's where I'm at. So I'm the old, fragile,
Yes.
man with the
Sweet.
gray hair, super, super lovely.
Could have authority,
Totally Anthony Hopkins.
but very sweet.
totally
I think
Richard
Hopkins can
Attenborough
be
for
really
Jurassic
sweet.
Park.
Hopkins is a good one.
He
I
can be
kept
really
coming back to Vigo once.
Oh,
But like older, grizzled,
Like
maybe
Eastern
out of-
Promises,
yes,
Viggo
Eastern
Mortensen, like cats
Promises.
and like cigarettes. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like a grit, like a I don't know why. I can't explain it.
I
That
can
was the
see
only
it.
one that popped into my head. Anthony Hopkins is way better.
yes.
No, I like Vigo. I like that.
Mine was Colonel Sanders originally,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I mean, either
Mhm.
of those two kind of have that.
Well, then we have to jump over because my casting is a little bit of a pairing to Mrs. Montague
Right.
to counter that energy of this casting.
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates is great.
Oh, I was
Kathy Bates
Squawk,
is great.
squawk. Authority, authority.
I
Yeah.
was thinking of like whoever the actress is who plays Umbridge, maybe.
Yes, Dolores Umbridge. That's a
Yeah,
good
in
one as
Harry
well.
Potter.
That
Mm-hmm. That attitude gave me
That's great.
some
Umbridge
very
vibes.
snooty. I feel
Mhm.
like maybe Judi Dench could maybe do it too if we're going that age
yes.
Hmm.
with Anthony Hopkins. Oh my god, imagine that.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
a
just
powerhouse.
Powerhouse,
House.
all-star talent.
Power haunted house.
I was going.
Oscars.
I was going Meryl Streep. I was going Streeper because
Ooh.
because I love her. Basically, everything she does is flawless.
Sure.
But you look at something like The Devil Wears Prada, and she can be the meanest
Mhm.
She
human,
was so quiet in
but so
that.
quiet.
Mm.
And I would love to have something like that play against like, well, I thought I told you that I'd be here for dinner. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I could see somebody like an Anthony Hopkins kind of bending to that will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it just not so much like Umbridge is like cartoony. And I was reading
Yeah.
her as
Yeah.
cartoony, which made me hate her. But I'm like, what if she was a little bit more subtle?
Mhm.
You would still be like, what are you doing, Meryl Streep?
No, I
like,
see her
you know,
fussing a lot.
see her
a lot
fussing?
of movement, a lot
Yeah.
of projection, a lot of noise, a lot of
She's-
ownership, a lot of
she's like a
authority.
bird.
so the stripper
Our
could do
pal
that.
Darkman says Malcolm McDowell
Malcolm
for
McDowell.
Dr. Montague.
Dr. Montague,
That would
great
be
voice.
really great. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
voice.
That
That'd
would
be
a
great.
good one.
That'd be
Like that
great.
one.
I would love a. I guess Rachel Tyne is Eleanor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll cast-
Zing!
That'd be awesome. I would love. You know who else I think can do sweet really well, but also really mean is Idris Elba. The guy, one of the greatest actors working right now. I
Mhm.
love him
Did a
in.
great Shere Khan.
Shere Khan is his voice
So
alone
scary.
and his performance is terrifying.
Mhm.
And yet I look at the quieter moments in something like Pacific Rim
Mhm.
or in the roles where he kind of takes like a mentor type role.
Yes.
and he's so sweet and he's so, protective. And I could see him doing a Montague as well. Somebody who comes in and knows everything about ghosts and spirits with that great accent of his. And then,
Right. This is what's going down the house, right?
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
exactly. See, I don't care about failure. That kind of attitude. And then his wife shows up. He's like, everything you want, dear. That
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I think that'd be great. So
So next character, do we cast Eleanor?
I was thinking Keira Knightley does
Uh-huh.
madness in Dangerous Method. She's a super
I
physical
haven't seen that yet.
actress.
Great. Cool.
Or Carrie Mulligan.
Yeah, I can see Carrie Mulligan.
Carrie
Someone
big
who
time.
can
yeah.
be quiet and then just
She does like the
intense.
bland, beautiful girl so well.
Mhm.
I feel like every role has been
The
that.
bland, beautiful girl. That's right. That's
Mm.
right. Ryan Gosling moves in next to her, and he's like, she's so bland and the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Yes.
I think a Natalie Portman type actress or herself could nail it. I think Natalie Portman
Oh
would be
yeah.
great.
Like
A similar,
Black
Too good looking.
Swan.
similar Black Swan. Very like
That's like the Hollywood version,
it's Hollywood.
where
Yeah.
it's like ridiculously too good looking for that role.
I'm so
Yeah.
plain. Think,
yeah,
okay, Natalie
yeah.
Portman.
No, you're a 10. You're an
Yeah, yeah.
11. Like
Yeah.
I would go there.
No,
You're,
I'm like a 2. I'm so sad. Like, okay, you're a 10. Yeah, I would go there.
after Stranger Things, who did Distressed better than I can't think of
Winona
Winona Ryder.
That would be great because she's my all-time person.
I
That's
honestly
great.
think Winona Ryder would do an amazing job where she comes in all
Yeah.
carefree, trying to make friends, and
Absolutely.
then
Oh,
has these
yeah.
like kind of psychotic episodes.
and
And
it's
it's all in her head.
we could
I
have
think she would be
perfect
great.
fantasy casting, it would be Winona in like the 90s when
Mhm.
she was in her 20s, and it would be Anthony Hopkins maybe like maybe like 20 years younger because he's in his 70s
Yeah.
or 80s.
Hannibal
Like,
Lecter era.
what's that?
Hannibal Lecter era.
Exactly. Just
Hopkins.
if we could kind of youthify some of these actors to fit the ages that these characters
Mhm.
are.
Girl Interrupted Winona Ryder for me.
Oh
oof,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Absolutely. That'd be great.
Theodora.
That's a
Theodora.
hard one.
I really struggled with this. The person that I kind of envisioned, believe it or not, was like an Alicia Vikander
Oh.
type thing.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I could see
I-
that.
She's
But like
so
like more voluptuous. Like I pictured her really quite bosomy and quite. How else did you describe that? Like really quite cuddly.
Yeah.
That's what I call my mum.
Those are good.
Cuddly.
Voluptuous, bosomy, cuddly. Those are great.
Good.
Yeah.
With like kind of curlier hair.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden, like for some reason, Alicia Vikander just popped
No, she's
straight in.
very hot right now, Alicia Vikander.
Oh, she's
This really-
she's our Lara Croft.
This really feels like a book club right now. This is great. I want some tea and some little
Oh, did we make
crackers.
these? These are
Oh, these are
fantastic.
good. Oh, you know who I really like is that Alicia Vikander. She's
Oh,
fantastic.
she's just great. Did you
Lovely.
see her in the one on the top?
To go off of what you're saying, I'm going to go Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek is a Theodora.
Mm.
I think
Oh.
she
You do
can
need
nail
someone
it.
who's very dramatic and over the
She's
top.
so
Yeah. And I don't think
larger
Alicia
than life.
does embody that.
Absolutely. And it's honestly the best casting of that crappy remake was Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine
Mhm.
Zeta-Jones nails that vibe so well. So I was like, okay, it's Salma Hayek. Again, maybe like
Oh my-
10 years ago, 15 years ago, Salma.
Sorry, I just
Go.
read the comments here.
Yeah.
Darkman 220, you got this one. Mrs. Montague, Julie Andrews. An
Oh.
older Julie
Oh.
Andrews. How perfect is that?
Dark
Darkman,
Man.
you're casting this whole movie
Seriously,
for
that
us.
is
Great.
just
Oh my
perfect.
god.
That's great.
yeah, that
that's
trumps
really
my
good.
Kathy Bates. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know who did the comment, or Donald Glover is literally everyone. Ha ha ha.
On
Yeah,
board.
I'll take it. Luke, I could see Donald Glover as Luke.
Hello, what have we here?
Just kind of like,
No,
you know,
so good.
that'd be
I
great.
know.
Let's cast.
We could have a
let's,
whole aside, I think.
See-
all three of us.
see- on Donald Glover? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is our last one? Like Luke?
Well, we got to get your
Luke.
Theodora.
Oh,
Did we get your
Theodora.
Theodora?
No, I was having a really hard time with that one. I
Mhm.
can't. I don't know. Who's? Oh man, Juno Temple.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
That'd be
I
great.
think so. She's super vivacious and kind of can turn on a hat. I got this like feline quality to
Yes.
Theodora.
It's that confidence where she kind of
Yes.
slinks into a room.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You're right. She could be like, darling, darling, darling. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And then coax back into
Yeah, the
like being
girl
sweet.
you always want to be friends with. You're
Yeah.
like, wow.
I think that's another dark man, Scarlett Johansson, Theodora. Totally.
Oh,
yeah, she
yeah.
could nail it.
Yeah.
She could nail it.
Yeah, with the
Uh,
red sweater,
she'd kill it.
flirting with Luke, but really flirting. No,
Yeah.
she just flirts with everyone.
Mhm.
Okay, so the Luke.
Mhm.
Mine was Luke Wilson, the brother of Owen
He's-
Wilson. Should have
he's-
been Luke.
Oh, instead of Owen, it should
Yeah,
have been Luke.
Luke should have been Luke.
Once you accidentally said that, that was the.
Yeah,
That
once I
was-
said Owen Wilson.
You
I was like, no,
accepted
wrong
Here's,
Wilson.
here's my impression of Luke Wilson in every movie ever. Ready? You just need to relax. You need to learn how to relax.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
his role in every movie.
Yeah.
He helps out other
What
characters.
are you saying?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm just the good guy that every girl likes.
That is Luke, kind of. I was like, why do they even tolerate him?
Mhm.
Mm.
I
He
don't
just- he
know.
just seemed
He's
not with it.
there.
But he's
yeah.
so
Yeah.
he's such a good look.
Yeah, no,
then.
he's
know.
so like
Luke would be a good look.
bland.
Yeah.
I think he's the but
Mhm.
where I was like, where are you coming from
Yeah.
besides that you're a liar, I guess. I don't know why she put that in there.
Yeah, I still never ever saw him as a liar.
Maybe-
I never got him at all.
Yeah, I
We
didn't get
and
a
we
But
never
maybe-
will.
Maybe you guys, maybe Eleanor never got him at all because she can't read people.
She can't.
So her her
Yeah, she
impression
can't
is
read
he's a
him.
liar,
I
and we're
think the
like,
whole mother thing was a line that she just returned served. How dare you? I
Yeah.
think that was his in.
Mhm.
Hey,
Yeah.
let's connect over this. And she was like, bye, you're boring me.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like if
You
somebody
don't
else
even
was there,
understand.
if somebody else were there, they'd be like, Eleanor, he's
Are
trying to
you,
have a
are
conversation.
you
Like
kidding?
he's trying to have a conversation. Like it's cool. You're cool. It's okay, Eleanor. Oh, this house is just gonna swallow you up. And then it did.
It
And then it did.
really
And then it
did.
did.
I feel for her when they're sending her off and you feel this sense of dread because you think maybe she'll get out. But there's no way. It has
know.
its claws into her. So many things have happened to her. The running around the house, going up to I thought she was gonna jump from the tower when we got up
Yeah.
there for
Mhm.
sure.
I thought
and-
someone else would get a little bit more affected than they did. I thought she was going to cut someone. I really like
Mm.
once she was in it, she was just going to be like, you know what, payback or just
Yeah.
something. But for it to end, kind of, it was a very abrupt ending.
Yeah.
As it was happening, it ended.
Mhm.
And I kind of felt like that the house should have had. I'm just so used to there being more victims and
Mhm.
more.
Yeah, because horror films.
Thank
I mean,
you.
in the
Mhm.
crappy remake, Owen Wilson got decapitated by a statue. It was really dumb. That was late 90s, early
Mhm.
2000s CG.
That was
Hey, I
a
just watched
big
Anaconda.
thing with
Yeah.
13 Ghosts, Ghost
I
Ship.
know.
All those movies have someone getting like
like, ugh, like a really
with
cheesy.
like a wire or a piece
Yep.
of glass.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just all the
And I was ready for something like that to happen.
Yeah, but it
And it kind of seems as soon as she
was much more sad.
realized that she was just a little zinc, that's
Mhm.
when Dr. Montague's like, all right, I'm cutting this off. Get out,
Mhm.
out now. I'm sorry, no, pack her bag. No, she's got to do this alone. She has to leave. She
Yeah.
has to do this.
She has to escape, and she just couldn't. And I think the abrupt ending really works too because you've been with her this whole time, and
Mhm.
you're kind of sinking into what's happening with her, and you're really all of the moments that really scared us are because of what's happening to her, and you're feeling what she's feeling, and then she's gone.
Is it
She's
ironic
lost.
that when she was like, no, I want to stay here. I belong here. I was having paternal protective likeness
Mhm.
over Eleanor. I was
Of
like,
course.
what? I don't even like
Of
you.
course. It was
And yet here I
frustrating.
am like, ugh.
It was frustrating how the other characters were treating her because I felt like maybe again, just because it was from Eleanor's perspective,
Yeah.
there wasn't enough of Dr. Montague explaining why he was being so short.
Yep.
There wasn't enough of him explaining, like, remember that thing I said about if you really feel this way, I believe that the house has
The
taken control
science
over you.
behind
I'm
it.
trying to help you. I think that it's it's affecting you at a subconscious level, at a spiritual level. Like I want to make sure that you're okay. I'm gonna have somebody drive you. Like
Yeah.
there wasn't enough of that for me
I
to go
agree.
like
I thought
everybody's
Mrs.
being a real
Montague was
jerk.
bored.
Yeah.
And I was like, how dare you be bored? She's clearly possessed
yes.
at this
She's
particular
going
moment.
through something right now,
She's
lady.
begging to stay in this house, like red flags, sirens right now.
And what
She's
was the
just like,
excuse for
"Darling."
Arthur not driving her? What was the excuse? Like
I don't think they want. I think Dr. Montague wanted her to get away
just from the house.
from the house and make the choice herself so that she could extract herself. And
Mhm.
I also got the feeling that when she woke up and everything was normal, it's because they had a meeting and were like, we got it. Maybe not with Mrs. Montague and Arthur,
Mhm.
but the core group said, we have to get her out. Look at what just happened last night. This
Mhm.
has been escalating. We have to toe a hard line.
You might be right.
Don't let her change her mind. She has to go alone. I feel like Dr. Montague was like, we
This
gotta
is the
take
thing,
care
though.
of
There's so
this.
many things from Eleanor's non-perspective that I
Mhm.
would have loved to have been privy to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when she's dancing up the top and she's about to jump, I wanted to know what everyone was thinking about this. Did it click in for them?
Yeah.
You know, what else had been happening
Mhm.
leading up to that?
Mhm.
You know, how freaked out were they over this occurrence? Because it did in the morning. It seemed like no big deal again.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe they were putting that on to try to make her feel like no big
We
deal.
don't
That was a
know.
fascinating scene that she was saying, like, everyone's acting like nothing happened. And that could be on purpose, or that could be Eleanor again projecting how she is internalizing her anxiety and self-doubt about these people. And maybe they're trying to act that way to make her feel better. And she's like, why aren't you making this a bigger deal? This thing
Yeah.
almost happened. It's definitely a cry for help. It's definitely reaching out. This is why you got to screen your people that you're going to test in a haunted house. You got
I
to
know.
screen
Yeah.
them.
Well, that's the point of the way she wrote this, is that we get to interpret it. So did you guys enjoy the book and the experience? I know you're not a big horror fan generally.
No, it
but-
was scary for a little bit. I think the middle chunk was the
Yes.
most frightening for me.
Mhm.
And then I think once it had taken over like Elena's complete perspective, and then it was getting distorted, I was removed from it a little bit because I just had too many questions and it just didn't really add up for me. And when things don't make sense, I'm not as invested. That's why I like science fiction, when it makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I like the science behind it. Yeah.
So you must hate Harry Potter then.
No, because it all makes sense. It makes sense in a fanatical world. It's
Okay,
not like
gotcha.
builds its
Gotcha.
universe and
Gotcha.
keeps-
The rules are
sticks to the
magic, follows the rules,
Yeah.
and it follows them very well. So yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But now we have so many questions and nothing, we're not sure of anything. There is no clarity. And that for me was a little bit like, but it was still better than the first few chapters when it made me feel like I was back in English class in high school because of that, the era of which it was written.
Sure.
I could really tell it
absolutely.
was in the
style.
50s. Yep.
Absolutely. I totally pictured people reading this back in 59 when it came out and it being like salacious. It being
Yes.
just like the most
Yes.
delicious, delectable, like, oh, I can't believe this writing.
I
And
had an experience this
Oh,
one time.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also Shirley Jackson. I could see a lot of her commentary, especially when Mrs. Montague came in. I went, oh, this is how you think about all those people in the town that you live in. You think everybody's a Mrs. Montague. You think everybody's a closed-minded, know-it-all. And I really appreciate that. I also think that Shirley Jackson, I don't know what the country, what the United States thought of mental health back then. I imagine it's very different than today. And I know that Shirley Jackson, she took her own life, right? No, she had a heart attack in her sleep.
But she had a breakdown.
She had
right
like a
before
mental
then.
breakdown
Mhm.
and
No way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And this
So
was
she
this was
suffers from anxiety.
totally. So the whole time I was reading this, I'm going, this is her working stuff out. This is her
Ah.
totally like, projecting and externalizing what she goes through on the daily, and she's exaggerating it. And it's a fun haunted house story, but I'm like, I felt for her. I felt for her in reading her life story and reading how she had this big family but would feel alone. I'm like, all of that makes perfect sense. And today, somebody like that, I think, would have been helped in a different way, if
Absolutely.
at all.
I feel like back then it's like you could feel anxious, but you couldn't have anxiety, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you didn't talk about it.
But he's like, oh, this makes me feel a little anxious. And everyone's like, oh, same. I've got. I'm
Yeah,
giddy.
we've all,
It's like,
we've all
no, no,
seen
no.
Mad Men. Therapists were paid by husbands to be like,
Oh,
tell my
yeah.
wife she's fine. Tell my wife. She's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, that was our first book. It was really fun. I feel like we had I feel like I enjoyed it, but I got to discuss the discussion and thinking about it really helped me understand.
It was better
more.
talking about it with you guys. It really
Yeah.
was because you guys were project like
Word of the day projecting for sure.
presenting your theories, and I'm like, oh yeah, that
Yeah.
made it better. Made it better.
So we're gonna vote right now. You guys at home, please help us pick our next book. We teased this at the top of the show, but basically right now you get to vote. You have 3 minutes picking the book for next month. Do you want to read Ready Player One, A Wrinkle in Time, or Good Omens?
Your time starts
Vote now.
now.
Which book are you guys hoping for?
So I have only read one of the three,
Oh,
but I've reread, and listened to Ready Player One.
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe
a
not that
little
one.
into it.
okay, you're into it. Great.
But I've also done a book club on that where I spoke about it for an hour and a half. So there is plenty to talk about. And I feel like I could easily do that, which is why the other two excite me more because it's new territory.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm super excited for Ready Player One, I gotta go. I'm hoping it's A Wrinkle in Time, because I just 3 nights ago watched Ava DuVernay's
Yes, I saw your
documentary
tweet.
13th.
I've been meaning to. I've heard it's.
Good.
I know.
So good.
I
It
know.
is one of the best documentaries I've seen, I think, in my life. It was insane. And then I saw her film Selma, which was of course amazing, and my favorite of the Oscar-nominated Best Pictures the movies that year. Selma was my favorite. It affected me the most. I thought it was beautiful, so well done. And I want to get excited about A Wrinkle in Time. And I have friends who have, of course, read the book, and they're super excited about it. And I'm like, I'm hearing casting.
I know we should cast
I
it
don't-
before with
yeah,
the actual
well, it's-
casting. so it's
I'm
not
like-
distorted.
Yeah, then
I
we-
think
yeah.
this person's in it and this person, but like I don't have that connection to the character, so I want that, and I want to get excited.
Chris
so,
Fine's in it.
I
Yeah,
know.
Chris
I meant to
Pine. There's a
No, I
great
meant to say
cast so
fine.
far.
Mm-hmm.
I have read all three, but I read Ready Player One recently.
Okay.
Good Omens I read.
It's in the
college,
lead right now with
maybe?
37%.
What's that one about?
We have 2
And
minutes.
Good Omens is by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that guys vote for Chuck a vote in
they're
that one for
all
me.
neck and neck right
And
now.
A
This is
Wrinkle
so
in Time
stressful.
I read when I was probably in 5th grade, so I don't really remember. I just remember really loving the world and it giving me kind of a Phantom Tollbooth-y vibe.
Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Good Omens is that I have heard mixed reviews about Neil Gaiman as an author. And I am,
Really?
yes, which is fascinating to me, but I have multiple
Sorry.
people in my life right now that have been recently reading his stuff and they're like talking
Which
about
ones?
it. They read
American
Stardust,
Okay.
American Gods
American Gods,
was
yeah.
one, and one other one I'm forgetting.
Neverwhere?
Neverwhere. Where
See,
they're
I
like,
I like
where they're like
Neverwhere.
Neverwhere. This person liked Neverwhere better than Stardust, but they're like, he's such a beautiful writer. The story isn't that great.
Mhm.
Is the criticism. And to
Mhm.
me, I know Neil Gaiman from his comic book work because I'm a
Right.
big comic guy. I love. Oh my God, he did a thing for Marvel years ago called Marvel
Oh,
1602
hot
that I think is brilliant. 50% in the lead. Wrinkle
Oh,
in Time.
wow.
50%
That's
of
a
Wrinkle in
minute
Time.
caught up.
We just talked about Ready Player One and Good Omens this entire time, and
Yeah.
Wrinkle is like,
Yeah. But I would love to read. I haven't read any Neil Gaiman period, and I would love to do it because I only
don't
know
think
from
I have
comic
either.
book work. So that would
Not
be really
yet.
interesting. I know that's what I'm saying. Like
Man.
it's amazing. His comic
Yeah.
stuff is great, so I would be interested. And I've heard mixed things, so I'm like, ooh, I would want to
Who
get into
wrote A
that.
Wrinkle in Time?
That's Madeline L'Engle.
Yeah.
And that's another one I think from the.
That's a great author name, Malin
Wow.
Lingle.
Oh, here we are.
So Good Omens is a comedy about the birth of the son of Satan and the end times, and it's like a dark comedy.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah,
Sounds
it's.
tender.
I
That's
remember
fun.
it being fun. Terry Pratchett is so lovely.
See, I've
Mhm.
bought so many Terry Pratchett
Yeah.
books. Never started.
All right, 9,
8, 7. Quickly, vote, vote,
Get
vote,
your
vote,
votes,
vote,
get
vote.
your votes in. We're going.
22,
Oh,
27, 50.
are you gonna get
Oh,
up to 50? No, it's Wrinkle in
Dang.
Time.
Whoa, Wrinkle in Time. All right, I'm ready.
It's
I can do
exciting.
that.
That was exciting to see that in real time. To see that
Yeah.
happen
In real Wrinkle Time.
in a wrinkle in
And
real
ready,
time.
real wrinkle.
That was a wrinkle in real time.
That's
We
how
saw it.
puns try to
Time.
happen. You just saw it. Usually
right.
it's better.
That's right.
And don't every month we're going to be doing these, so you guys always get to vote. So if the book that you wanted doesn't get picked, keep sending us suggestions.
Mhm.
Your homework assignment, your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to read up to chapter 4 by next time.
Okay.
So
So
make
1,
sure
2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, great.
So you guys just keep sending us ideas for the books that you want to read because we're just going to keep doing this until they make us stop. Because this
Yay.
is so much fun. We're having so much fun. Thanks for joining us. As always, you can send us your thoughts, your questions, your recommendations on Twitter, in the chat, at Nerdist, at Geek and Sundry, at Join Team Alpha. I mess that up every time. Hashtag Alpha Book Club. Thank you guys so much for joining us for our first book club. I'm Rachel Heine.
I'm Hector Navarro.
I'm Maude Garrett.
We'll see you guys next week.
Woo!
Bye.